Hey, what's up, good people? It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know why I do it. I am reading just for today, which is my first reading for most days, and it's from Narcotics Anonymous. And it starts off with a line that, yeah, it doesn't take much for me to take exception to something. Let me just put it out there like that. So, that being said, this reading starts off with a line that I find, oddly humorous in a sarcastic sense of the phrase. The reading is entitled Right Back Up, and the opening line is there is something in our self destructive personalities that cries for failure. And I don't necessarily believe that to be true. We want success, and I guess if we're crying for failure, the failure is that our lies and deceptive behaviors weren't successful, and we can't figure out why. If that makes any kind of sense. You know, here we start off to do dirty, either to ourselves or to another human being. And we're perfectly content in that. We get upset when the plan is not successful. You know, if you believe that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and that holds true for you in faith, that has to hold true for another believer in faith. And then your behaviors, your conditioned patterns, are not going to be successful in someone else's life because they're not successful in your life, even when the enemy is using you to get you. See, no weapon formed against you shall prosper is a promise. There are no terms and conditions put on that. It's just not going to happen. But we keep trying. Let me get into this reading. Starts off with poor me, woe is me. Look at me, my life is such a mess. I've fallen and no matter how hard I try, I continue to fail. It says many of us came to NA singing this sad refrain, or many of us came into recognition of our need for healing or need for restoration and reconciliation to God singing this song. No matter how hard I try, I continue to fail. That piece right there. What are you trying to do? If you're trying to do dirt, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So that exercise is already self-defeating. You know, you've heard me use this analogy that I learned from an English professor. He would say it's like hitting yourself in the head with a hammer. It feels good when you stop. We engage in these behaviors, and we do the behaviors repeatedly. And we may go along for a little while without it being problematic. But then the same thing that you're relying on to keep you, that faith. Oh, I hope nobody finds out. I hope I can continue in this. I hope this will be successful. That same faith that you're operating in the negative sense, is going to be turned around to glorify God. So it's like the faith that you're operating in, that's what you need to look at. You know, what am I thinking? Who am I serving in and under this premise? Getting back to the reading, it says life isn't like that anymore. Sometimes we still stumble. At times we even fall. Sometimes we feel like we can't move forward in our lives, no matter how hard we try. But the truth of the matter is that with the help of the other recovering people, we find a hand to pull us up, dust us off, and help us to start all over again. That's the new refrain in our lives today. So that being said, how you living? Who's in your circle? What's the faith and the love look like? You know, what are the terms and conditions present in your circumstances, in your situations, in your relationships, in your friendships? You know, if you own a computer, I know many of us sign up for things and we don't read the terms and conditions. We just want the product. So we just sign. So I'm asking that. Is that you in your relationships? You don't look at the terms and conditions. You just sign because you want the product. Since this being said, it's like no longer do we say I'm a failure and I'm going nowhere. Usually it's more like I hit that same bump again. Pretty soon I'll learn to slow down and avoid it entirely. Until then, I might continue to stumble. I might fall occasionally. But I know and I rely on there being a helping hand. So when we learn a new way of thinking, when we adopt a new way of thinking, when we plug into our faith, when we plug into the reality of the situation, not what we hope it will be, but what God says is going to be based on His Word, when we really tap into that power, that source, that reality, that truth, we process things entirely different. Amen. What's your reality? What's your truth? What's your faith? Those are my questions.